To the VOC directors, everyone knows that the male sex cannot survive without women. And yet it seems that your excellencies have planted a colony without wishing to. To make up for this, we have looked for funds and have had to buy many women at high prices. We therefore request that if you cannot get honest married folk, then send us young girls, and we shall hope that things will go better than our experience with older women to date. Your servant, Jan Pieterszoon Koen, Governor General of the Colony of Batavia, 11 May 1620.
And so they sent me. My name is Judith Gijsbertszoon. I travelled with my family to Batavia aboard that fated ship of the same name. Only my father, the ship's predicant, and I survived the bloody mutiny. My mother, sisters and brothers lay buried somewhere on Batavia's graveyard. My life here fares little better, but that's the lot of all Dutch women in the East Indies. Others have come before me. They are called the company daughters, many of them poor women and orphans. Those old enough to marry become employees of the VOC, although I expect not by choice, for they do not receive a wage. For their commitment, the company gives them a new petticoat. We wait for news regarding our return home with the December fleet. So far, my father has been granted passage, but with the condition that I remain. The company's servant needs wives. I live in the hope that I will see Dordrecht again, like the image of hope itself. I'm also a woman that will not be overcome by the turbulent seas that separate me from my home.
The fragments which make up this jug are sherds from a number of similar vessel types. It is a wonder that they survive at all after being scattered on a reef inshore of the Batavia shipwreck. 3 oval medallions depict a woman with an anchor, the personification of hope. Allegorical images were important motifs in Dutch art from the 16th to the 18th centuries. Hope forms part of the theological group of the 7 virtues: faith, hope, and charity. An early example of this motif is Peter Bruegel the Elder's 1559 engraving. The woman personifying hope calmly stands on an anchor in the middle of a sea of troubles, whilst around her ships wreck. In early Christian art, the anchor was also a disguised form of the cross. The Latin motto underneath reads, "The assurance that hope gives us is most pleasant and most essential to an existence amid so many insupportable woes." The symbol of shipwreck dominates half the engraving, and in later iterations, such as the medallion seen here, only the symbol of the anchor endures.
Finally, after 5 years in the East Indies, they have granted me passage home. My stepmother also. We have each been given a predicant's widow's pension. But for my sufferings on those barren atolls near the Southland, they have given me another 300 guilders. This time I leave my father behind, buried somewhere in this archipelago of islands, along with my 2 husbands. All have succumbed in this miasmatic fever. that plagues this place. Yet, I still endure. I try to reimagine myself like my namesake from the Bible, from the book of Judith. Judith beheaded Holofernes, her people's captor. Perhaps we women should have done the same with Euronymous Cornelius on Batavia's graveyard, rather than to be subjugated. But does it matter what role a woman plays in the end? For if my story is to be remembered at all, it's likely to be a postscript to the main account, like Judith's. Still, Judith and Hope have been immortalized in this very vessel from which I drink. I gaze upon their images and remember not only their plight, but also their fortitude, for that is what compels me to go on.
The lives of 17th century women in the East Indies are as fragmented as the sherds of the stoneware vessels in front of you. Yet, by using disparate pieces of information, we can begin to reconstruct what an individual female experience may have been like. The figurative designs on these stoneware vessels compel us to also reflect on how women are rendered in the early modern period. Creative associations between archaeological assemblages, contemporary objects, imagery and archives allow us to consider these women, to see them as active participants in the story of Batavia.